Gareth, with a hint of hesitation, I can think of 2 plans I'm pretty sure you didn't mind. Pen, thoughtful, glancing sideways. Well, I can't exactly complain, given that I'm still alive. But, are you sure about this? Gareth, look, it's an easy climb down and back up. I know I'd be fine, but we can just go around if you aren't comfortable with it. Gareth instinctively rubbed the frill on his head, a familiar gesture whenever he was deep in thought. The landscape around them was both stunning and treacherous, with jagged rocks jutting out like the teeth of some ancient beast, waiting to swallow the unwary. Pen nods, weighing her options. You're more familiar with these waters, so, if you're confident, then I trust you. Pen turned her head, hiding a smile as she looked down into the chasm, steeling her resolve. The swirling mists at the chasm's base concealed the depths, and the eerie quiet of the area heightened her senses. Pen, let's get to it then. With determination, Pen shifted her weight and lowered herself over the edge. Gareth felt the jostle as she skillfully began to navigate the rocky descent, moving from outcropping to ledge. He was astonished by her strength, watching in awe as she effortlessly held their combined weight. At times, it seemed as if only the tips of her fingers were keeping them from plummeting into the abyss. Her muscles coiled and flexed with each movement, showcasing her incredible focus, yet she never uttered a word of complaint. After a while, Gareth found the courage to speak up. Gareth, tentatively, I don't want to distract you, but... Pen let out a controlled exhale, her expression encouraging. Pen, please do, actually. Gareth, well, it's just that all this activity, especially the running, it's insane. I don't know many species that could match your strength, but I certainly don't know any that could run for hours straight. Pen smiled at his compliment, but a flicker of humility passed over her features. Pen, chuckling, to be fair, it's more of a jog. But I understand your point. It's our evolutionary niche, I suppose. Even among Earth's predators, I don't think there are many who can match our endurance. Gareth, thoughtfully, endurance predation. Pen, yes, that's what it's called. Science or history weren't really my forte, but apparently, while other predators were dropping from trees or waiting in ambush, humans would just walk and walk and walk. Gareth, pausing to process, eventually, your prey would have to lie down and... That's unsettling, to be honest. I was almost surprised that I was able to keep up with you when we first started moving. I didn't quite understand what Tunny T meant, but I think I'm getting it now. As they maneuvered downwards, the rocky ledges became more precarious, and Pen's focus intensified. The wind picked up, swirling around them as if urging them to hurry. She glanced back at Gareth, who was carefully considering his next move. Pen, cautiously, do note that, and I'm not trying to brag here, I may be a poor example of the whole. Most humans aren't going to match me. I've had years of training in both physique and skill set. Your average Joe or Jane. I mean, I don't want to say they couldn't, but not every human is a guaranteed marathon runner. Gareth, the potential is there, but there's a difference between potential and what is ultimately realized. Pen grunted slightly as she reached for a higher handhold, her muscles straining but her determination unwavering. Pen, exactly. Though I must admit, I've had an easier time than many. Not all, but many. Gareth, how so? Pen, simple genetics. I'm larger than most. I gain muscle and retain it easier than others. I grew up in a place that stressed fitness. Military training has only helped. Not that I didn't work for this, mind you. To illustrate her point, she reached out with one hand, holding their weight for a moment before pulling back and continuing downward. Gareth scrambled to hold on tightly, feeling a few scared clicks escape his mouth as he glanced down. The sight below was dizzying, and he felt his heart race as he concentrated on Pen's movements. Gareth, nervously, Impressive, yes, very impressive, but I'd ask you not to do that again. I've had my fill of hurtling toward hard, solid surfaces. Pen laughed heartily, the sound echoing off the chasm walls. Pen, I had a drop instructor who would always say that it isn't the fall that kills you, it's just the sudden stop at the end. Gareth, wincing, I'm quite certain I'd die of fright before I meet that sudden stop, which would honestly be a mercy. With a determined huff, Pen made a particularly far reach for a handhold, her movements fluid and practiced, She exuded confidence, each motion deliberate as she focused on her goal. Gareth admired her, but he couldn't shake the fear gnawing at him. Gareth, tentatively, you sell yourself short, Penn. You handled the drop well. Better than some cadets I've seen. Gareth, modestly, you needn't flatter me, Penn. I hold no illusions. Their conversation flowed naturally, providing a distraction from the daunting climb. As they continued, Penn came to a large jutting ledge just above the chasm floor. She stepped off onto the ledge, sitting with her legs dangling over the side. Taking a moment to breathe, she then slid off the ledge and landed gracefully on the chasm floor below, her movements resembling a dancer. Gareth, looking up the imposing climb before them, well, thank you, then, for the vote of confidence. That said, I think I'll leave the displays of physical prowess to you. Penn chuckled again, reflecting on their journey together. The bonds they were forging were slowly replacing the fear and uncertainty of their circumstances. Penn, playfully, I suppose you could say we've had a rocky relationship. She gestured around them, her smile wide and bright, teeth gleaming like pearls in the dim light. Gareth sighed in mock exasperation. Gareth, droll, sensational, Penn, truly. They both shared a laugh, a welcome relief from the tension of their climb. Gareth admired how easily Penn found humor in their situation. It was a trait he found endearing. Penn, fine-tuning her focus, fine. I'd love a distraction, and if not puns, then how about you tell me more about your people? I don't know much more than what you've told me, and that's limited. I know your home planet has beautiful horizons, and the sun doesn't set. You guys went to war a long time ago with Oceans? I think Tunny T mentioned that. As she examined the climb, Penn picked a starting point a couple of lengths to the left of where they had hopped down. Gareth grimaced slightly as he watched her spit into her hands, rub them together, and hoist herself up to the first ledge. He couldn't help but admire the confidence she exuded, even if the sheer physicality of it made him anxious. Gareth, raising an eyebrow, yes. The war was quite some time ago, but we teach it in great detail even today so that future generations never make the same mistake. Penn, what about before then? Gareth, that is the one and only war my people have fought. According to ancient history, there were trade squabbles at the beginnings of Wayland society, but nothing you'd call a war. It was a lesson we learned quickly. We deal with our problems like adults, talking in earnest compromise, as opposed to tantrums. Penn, curiously, is that how you see us? Tantruming children? Gareth hesitated, contemplating his response carefully. He didn't want to offend her, yet he felt compelled to speak the truth. Gareth, pausing thoughtfully, yes and no. I don't mean to insult, but your people do seem to have an unhealthy obsession with violence. The technological advancement necessary for space travel and spaceborne society comes with a technological level sufficient to create horrid means of destruction. The same fusion energy that powers a planet can also raise it. So, it's expected that most peoples who reach this stage have learned not just to avoid using such power, but to negotiate over it. Penn, intrigued, fair point, but it's not all bad, is it? Your people have your fair share of conflict, too. Look at your history, the wars, the revolutions. Gareth, I know that. It's just, I suppose there's a balance. It's easier to see when you're on the outside looking in. I wouldn't think you'd think less of your people for their failures. Penn, I don't think less of my people, Gareth. There are faults, sure, but we're not inherently bad. I don't judge us by our past alone. As she spoke, she continued climbing with confidence, reaching the ledge and stabilizing herself for Gareth to join her. Once he was safe beside her, she took a moment to catch her breath. Penn, I have to ask, does the same tantruming mentality apply to your dealings with us? Gareth felt a lump in his throat at the question. He understood what she was implying, and her honest curiosity stirred something within him. For the first time in what felt like forever, he found himself vulnerable. Gareth, quietly, I think it's an ugly truth that most beings, not just humans, don't quite understand their own weaknesses. My own people, we've learned how to create a society where we view our actions with the utmost scrutiny, but that doesn't mean we don't have our own frustrations. Gareth turned away, glancing toward the chasm floor and swallowing hard. Pen's expression softened as she picked up on his sudden shift in tone. Pen, gently, we're all learning, Gareth. My people have made their fair share of mistakes, too. Gareth, steeling himself, true. The point still stands. If we could all be kinder, we'd all be better off. Pen, sincerely, agreed. But that means talking to each other, like we are now. Gareth felt a wave of relief wash over him. In that moment, he realized that they had forged a connection deeper than he had anticipated. It was a tentative bond, yet it was more significant than anything he had experienced recently. Gareth, so, if we continue our climb in conversation, do you want to hear about some of my people's histories and cultures? Or do you want me to switch gears and ask about you? He noticed a glimmer in Pen's eyes as she glanced at him, as if sensing a hidden adventure behind his words. Pen, let's do a little of both. I'd love to hear your stories. With newfound determination, Gareth began recounting tales of human history, wars fought for freedom, cultural revolutions, and monumental achievements that shaped their world. He spoke with passion and detail, his voice reverberating against the chasm walls. He shared stories of the first humans to explore the stars, the pioneers who paved the way for intergalactic travel, and how those journeys were often fraught with peril and uncertainty. As Gareth spoke, Pen listened intently, captivated by the vivid pictures he painted with his words. She marveled at the resilience of humanity, their ability to adapt and overcome obstacles that seemed insurmountable. In return, she shared her own tales of Wayland culture, the beauty of its aquatic landscapes, the harmony of its ecosystems, and the rich traditions that had been passed down through generations. With each story exchanged, the chasm around them felt less daunting. They were not just climbing down into the unknown, they were forging a new path forward together. As they reached a plateau, they paused to catch their breath. Gareth, all right, my turn. What about your family? I'd love to hear about them. You mentioned a clutch of siblings. That sounds intriguing. Pen's face lit up at the mention of her family, a fond smile gracing her lips. Pen, my family. Well, growing up with a large clutch of siblings can be chaotic, to say the least. We always had someone to play with, which was fantastic, but it also meant we had to fight for attention. My sisters were always vying for the top spot, and my brothers, well, let's just say they can be a bit competitive. Gareth, chuckling, how competitive? Were there any sibling rivalries? Pen, laughing, oh, absolutely. I can recall a time when we held an annual race through the coral forests of our home city. It was fierce. My brothers would do everything to win, even if it meant teaming up to throw each other off course. They'd hide sea cucumbers in the sand to trip one another up. Gareth, amused, sea cucumbers? That's pretty clever. Pen, it was hilarious and chaotic all at once. But it taught us all a lesson about teamwork, perseverance, and humility. If you can't beat them, join them. Gareth couldn't help but laugh at the mental image she conjured, the thought of a group of young Wylands playfully sabotaging each other in good fun. It made him yearn for the kind of childhood camaraderie he'd often heard about but had rarely experienced himself. Gareth, you were all close then? Pen, nostalgically, very close. We had our share of squabbles, but we always came together when it mattered most. Family is everything for us Wylands. The bonds we share run deep. Gareth, pondering, I envy that sense of community. I've often felt alone, even in the company of others. Pen, gently, that's why we're here together now, Gareth. To create our own bonds and communities, wherever we go. You'll find it in unexpected places. They exchanged meaningful glances, both realizing the significance of their journey. As they continued to climb, the atmosphere grew lighter, their conversation a source of strength and encouragement. Gareth, you know, I never really understood the connection you have with your family until now. It's refreshing. Pen's smile widened, and she nudged him playfully. Pen, and you? What about your family? Do you have siblings? Gareth hesitated, memories flooding back, some painful, others cherished. Gareth, I have one sister, back home. She's a remarkable person, really. Always the star of the show. I've often felt like I'm living in her shadow, but she has her own struggles that I admire her for. The mention of his sister stirred emotions within him, and he felt a sudden urge to share more. "Gareth, we grew up in a small town. It wasn't glamorous, but we made the best of it. She's always been the outgoing type, always getting into trouble and dragging me along with her." Penn listened intently, her eyes glimmering with interest as Gareth continued. "Gareth, when she left for the city, I felt lost without her. I'm proud of her, of course, but it was hard to adjust to the silence." "Penn, that's understandable. Change is difficult, especially when it comes to family." Gareth, nodding, "Yeah. It took a while to find my own path, to define myself outside her shadow. I found comfort in the stories I shared with others, just like this moment." As they reached another ledge, Gareth paused to gather his thoughts, feeling grateful for the connection he was forming with Penn. "Gareth, I guess that's the beauty of life, isn't it? We learn from one another, grow together." Penn, sincerely, "Absolutely. We're all intertwined in some way." With that sentiment hanging in the air, they continued their climb, exchanging more stories, laughter, and encouragement. The chasm seemed less intimidating with each shared experience, as they realized that they were not alone in their struggles or triumphs. As they finally reached the bottom, the chasm opened up into a breathtaking vista. The sunlight poured into the valley, illuminating the vibrant colors of the flora and fauna. It was a stark contrast to the shadows of the chasm they had just traversed, a testament to the beauty that lay beyond the challenges they faced. Gareth, astonished, "Wow, this place is incredible." Penn nodded, her eyes gleaming with appreciation for the landscape that surrounded them. They stepped forward into the vast expanse, taking in the sights and sounds of nature. "Penn, this is where I feel most at home. It reminds me of the coral forests back on Walia, but it has its own unique beauty." As they walked, they marveled at the wonders around them, lush greenery, vibrant flowers, and the gentle sounds of flowing water nearby. The experience felt almost surreal, as if they had stepped into another world. Gareth, reflectively, "I've never really appreciated nature like this before. It's mesmerizing." Penn, encouragingly, "Nature as a way of grounding us, reminding us of what truly matters. It's easy to forget in the chaos of our lives." They continued to explore, sharing thoughts and observations about the world around them. Penn pointed out various plants, explaining their significance and uses, while Gareth shared his own insights about the stars above and the vastness of the universe. As they wandered, Penn felt a sense of peace enveloping them. This was what it meant to connect with someone on a deeper level, sharing experiences, stories, and dreams in a place that felt safe and inviting. "Gareth," breaking the silence, "what do you think we'll find on the other side of this valley?" Penn, smirking, "Hopefully not more chasms. I'd rather not go through that again." Gareth, laughing, "Agreed. But if we do, at least we'll have each other to help navigate it." Their laughter echoed through the valley, the bond they had formed growing stronger with each passing moment. As they continued their journey, they realized that they were no longer just two travelers, they were companions, allies in a vast and unpredictable world. The sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over the landscape. They paused to watch the sunset, the sky transforming into a canvas of colors, pink, orange, and purple blending seamlessly together. Penn, in awe, "It's beautiful, like a painting." Gareth, "It really is. It reminds me that there's so much more out there, so much we haven't explored yet." Penn nodded, her heart swelling with hope and excitement for the adventures that lay ahead. They were both filled with a sense of purpose, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. "Penn, I can't wait to see what's next for us, Gareth. Together, we can face anything." Gareth smiled, feeling a sense of warmth in Penn's words. It was a promise of friendship and support, a connection that transcended their differences. Gareth, together. With the sun setting behind them, they set off into the unknown, ready to embrace whatever adventures awaited them in the vast expanse of their world.